already. Water skiing is 104 years old, and I see this guy was more ready than any of the skiers of 104 years. Swim trunks, neoprene shirt, towel, goggles, water socks, the whole schmeal. He was ready to go and perform in the show that we put on for the public. 2 of our friends came over and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Well, the end result to their inquiry is he didn't ski that night. He went home dry. And that didn't sit right with me. My family and I the next day worked on the Everybody Skis program, the Inclusion to Water Skiing campaign. It attracted the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation, and together we all more than sextupled the access, 6 times the access in water skiing in Wisconsin for people with disabilities.
Welcome back to Finding Common Ground with Heather and Steve. Today we have Kurt Roskopf, and he is coming to us to talk about a new resource that's available to our community.
Hi, Kurt. Thanks for coming on. I met you a little while ago in one of the other groups at Helpipedia, and I was interested in some of the things that you guys were doing, and I'm also interested in what you're doing. And several members in that group were saying how that you're doing amazing work with the disability community, and I was wondering if maybe you could highlight some of what you're doing, because you're in Wisconsin, right?
That is correct. I call it close to heaven on earth as you can get. Come on over.
Perfect. And I think, and Kurt, I think it's important. A lot of times families think they're alone. We don't want them to feel alone. So we want them to know that there's, warriors out there and rock stars in different areas, not just New York, but across the country, that are really trying to help our disability community. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on some of the things you're doing.
All right. Well, I want to build off of what you said, because it brings me right to the human fact that the largest healthcare crisis known to humankind is social isolation. And so it's definitely not unique to people with disabilities. So as I work on this, I look at 6 lanes of life: faith life, service life, lifelong learning, our civic roles that we take on, what we do in business, things that we do for fun. And, so when you look at how we build our life, I create a way that it's about empowering, art of allowing, to help an individual come out and participate and be the best version of themselves and to live to the fullest extent possible. Because I believe as 8 billion people on the planet, that's what we want with each other, no matter what their functional assessment, no matter what their profile of abilities are. It's the same thing for everybody. So as I work on disability services, work with disability agencies, I'm asking myself, how are we empowering each other, and how are we allowing people with disabilities to empower us? Because that's my journey, that's my testimony, that's my review, is that when I review the last, dozen years of my life, I have great thanks and gratitude for all the people with disabilities that have touched my life and have shown ability above and beyond all the other people in my life of 4 decades prior, with, me diving in a big, big way. And it just opened my eyes about how I was missing so much that people that master ability provided me, and I saw it as a unique perspective, unfortunately. So my quest is to make sure that everybody has this opportunity to celebrate each other, and we're really just one big, ginormous family of 8 billion people. You can't get more abundant than that. Isn't that great, Steve?
Yes, absolutely.
I have found that too in my career. I was outlining something for a presentation where they wanted me to highlight some of my techniques or methods that I use with difficult populations. And what I found out with each person, that each case study, right, I'm breaking it down, and I think, I helped them do this, and they helped me learn this. Or they were with me when I got that phone call about grandma. Or they were with me in this moment, and they supported me. And that's when you start to realize we complement each other. So often, like you were mentioning, we think of the disability community as someone we need to support and uplift, when they can do that for us too, when they're given the chance. And if they're isolated, and, removed from everybody, we're denying them that chance. So thank you for opening the door for that, that kind of relationship and interaction. It's so important.
Yeah, it's about, creating habits and behavior and inclinations and reflex and instinct so that people with disabilities lead in front. So I want to tell you a story about my team Triumph. I reviewed over 50 programs, including I do adaptive water skiing. I love to water ski. And as a practitioner bringing people of all abilities into water skiing, I cross-trained into other areas. And the endurance sports community gave me the most remarkable story about making it eventful and putting out into the public, the proper way to take the next step. And the next step in a marathon, a duathlon, a triathlon, Ironman events, my team Triumph, if you've never heard of it, look them up. But the genius behind how they lead was I heard stories about how my team Triumph had an open door to go to some of these endurance events and rolled away, just took a pass. And why did they take a pass? It's because the organizer had the frame of mind that, yeah, they love their event that they do with all the runners. And then when you have the captains, in the running chairs, and then the angels that are the temporarily able-bodied athletes, able to stand up and, push that running chair for the captain who is a diverse ability athlete. And then to be able to add that into an event, some organizers were saying, yeah, we love to have you, and setting it up to just have them come right up the rear. Mm-hmm. And these organizers said, no, we're not good, not a good fit. We're out of here. They just leave, like conversation over. Every event that my team Triumph does is where the collaborator, the person doing the event, puts the diverse ability athlete in front. That is cohesive with my message of people with disabilities are the masters of ability. We're putting them on the front line because they're leading the way how we're going to rectify all of this all around the world, basically making an adjustment in comparison to what 175 billion people ever who have been on this planet have done before. We're just rebooting the entire planet and all of its history to say this is a new day. We're taking a first step that people with disabilities get every opportunity as all the other 8 billion people on the planet do.
Oh, you're speaking my language. I love this. This is great. Thank you so much. My heart needed that today. It's sometimes we get so into fighting for things and we're like bulldozing things, and the words you're using and the framework that you're building from is love and acceptance, and that's very empowering. And Steve and I say we do empowerment advocacy. That's the type of advocacy we do depending on what the person's facing. So that's really amazing. Steve, you had mentioned the Helpipedia part, and I just want to break that down a little bit because I find that really interesting. For our audience, I'm sure they appreciate that when you're facing a challenge, sometimes it's really difficult to know where to turn, who you can connect with, who's going to help you lead the life you want to live. So maybe you guys could dive into that because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm brand new to it too. I'm going to regress to you, Kurt, on that. I think it's a wonderful program. The reason I've been attending some of these meetings, and I think I've been to 3 or 4 already, is because it's such diversity in the approaches coming in with people with disabilities and the ones that are in the field. And every single person I've seen, and not any of us have ever duplicating the next person. We're all coming in at different angles and from all over the country. And I think when you get that, a lot of knowledge is in the room, a lot of expertise, and a lot of ideas. And so I'm pretty impressed with what you guys are doing so far. You could probably elaborate more than I can.
Yeah, so Helpipedia is built on the adage that has been out there for a long time in history. It takes a village to raise a child. And, so Helpipedia has come in to say, Public education is doing what it can. Charter schools, homeschooling, all forms of schooling for our youth of the world, and to look at our opportunity as the adult community to maybe fashion some improvements and to take some private sector professionals that have all of their expertise in certain areas and map that into the learning school environment of our teens. Primarily at this point is our big success story with Helpipedia, but the mission, vision, objective is the sprawl, following them into collegiate life and, reach these children earlier and earlier as our capacities grow. And Steve and I know each other from the special needs chapter. So that's what Helpipedia is doing, is taking all these focal points. And if you look at what I might call collective impact, that's just a term where you just get people from the community. A lot of people might have heard of private-public partnerships, and to enact all of those things, because it's hard to go to a public school administrator and come in with these expectations, and then they become the public's unfunded mandate, because
Right.
the budget they have to work with stays the same. So it's bringing in that outside help and really make it professional, so it becomes an extension of our educators' standard of delivering education and helping our students learn. And then for the parents, it's a very big priority in Helpipedia to reach the parents and help the parental side of that equation for our high schoolers, and then to both sides of that part of life journey.
So often the academic,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Steve, but I was going to say,
Go ahead.
so many times the academic piece, we just push it, right? We want them past the regents. We want them to get the test done, but there's no connection to what it's going to really mean in their real life. Like, how will that make them, an adult who can do meaningful things and be part of society? So circling back and bringing real people in from the community that have a real expertise, that's what sparks the young mind, right? Like, I want to do that. That's what you don't know about something till you see it. So I love that.
Like I said, it's one of the things I got attracted to your group, Kurt. The other one was the special needs provider directory that you guys are working on. I've been asked so many times over the years from parents across the state and throughout about, who can we contact? We need services and things like that. And of course, there's already the provider agencies out there, but there wasn't anything really comprehensive with everything in it. And the ones that I saw in my time, I think the last one I saw that was semi-comprehensive was like 3 years ago, and it was outdated. And I know that today in the meeting today, we talked about updating that and bringing some pretty much everybody, support groups and provider groups and anybody working with the disability community. I think that's going to be extremely beneficial to families.
Yeah, and our expectation is it's a snowballing effect. So it's just like, making a snow person or whatever. You start with that little snowball, and then you roll it around and you let the other snowflakes pile on. Next thing you got what you had envisioned you were making. And that's what the building of the directory is all about. We're focusing on the state of New York and just using it as a prototype to say, now we got the New York directory where we want it. Now we need to replicate it, to the other 49 states and however it would catch on in other countries, whatever it may be. So yeah, to perfecting the art form, building the directory to make it the most useful for everybody out there, obviously in this day and age, to evolve it to an app and, all the different things that make it real handy. And in my area, in our country, there are aging and disability resource centers. So they get a lot of calls for some questions, and there's independent living centers. But I just want to share, I went to a meeting of the advisory committee for our area's Aging and Disability Resource Center. And I shared with them how I have experience through growing water skiing experiences, going to the churches, going to the nonprofits like Optimist Club or our water ski club, and, the educational sector and the business community and all of the things people can do for fun. And the person who works for our county, with that council, really told me that was something that she welcomed and encouraged and was asking for, because she said, how great would that be if she, as an employee of the county, could kind of have a master layout, a directory like we're talking about, Steve, and to help the work that they're doing at the Aging Disability Resource Center. So this need to take inventory and get everybody on the same sheet of music and get everybody on the same page, literally, because everybody's working off of the same information, playing their own different roles in the collective impact to create maximum impact collectively. See, now you're amping up the role that everybody can play. And then the people who are being served, the folks who are beneficiaries of the services, now want to participate more because they're seeing the community, the government, the businesses, the faith communities. Everywhere they turn, everybody is so welcoming. They feel that they so belong. And it's not such a struggle, to take care of what they're looking for in their day, that they actually have time to participate in our community more, which helps our human resource issues that we feel when we're at different tables of discussion like this one. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, great idea, but who's going to do it? Well, there's a lot of people out there, and it could be a person with a disability that is the answer to that question, but we're not giving them that chance, right?
That's so true. And we're in silos. I mean, when you think of all the nonprofits in different areas, some of them really are doing some of the same things, and they don't even know the other one exists. I mean, people think, oh, they're not sharing because they're being competitive or whatever. We all know there's so many people in need that we can't possibly, one entity can't help everybody. So just like that synergy of bringing people together and, oh, you do that? How do you do it? Like benchmark with each other, maybe collectively attack something that you couldn't do individually. I'm all about the breaking down the silos part. And I think the disability community, they say it's like the largest unrecognized minority group in the country. That's one way to look at it. But there are a driving force. They want to give back of the knowledge that they have. I think of some of the elders I worked with at the nursing home. They had so much to share with us, so much wisdom. It's the same with the disability community. They have their gifts and their experiences that we're better for knowing. So all of that is great stuff. What brought you to this, Kurt? Like what drew you in to this? This is like a passion. This is a real drive. Where did it come from?
Well, in some sense, it's a little sprinkling and a little percolation, enough dominoes, tipping over to get me to the more massive ripple effect on this. So my parents and grandparents and other people in the adult community are part of Lions International. So that brings me into the blind or visually impaired community as a child. And then I received an Optimus scholarship. And then when I kept learning about Optimus International, now the scholarship was back when I was in high school, and I ended up joining the Optimus Club. And what I learned is that they had started a communications contest for the deaf and hard of hearing, which was not available at the time I wrote my essay contest and, with the oratorical contest. So that insight into my peers who are deaf or hard of hearing, that really built the inclusion for me. And the real magic happened with the sport of water skiing. I was born into show skiing. My mother and two aunts performed water ski shows since before I was born. By the time I was 14, I was watching my brother in a newly formed water ski club, doing water ski shows in the area. And it was a quick occurrence because I watched him perform a show in the one season. And then it was like, why am I just watching him? I can do the skiing just like him. So then the following year, when I was 15, I joined the club, and I'm still in the club today. So this is 40 years later for me, and still rock and roll at the club. The club is 42 years old. And the reason I bring this up is this club got involved 38 years ago to form an event once a year for people with disabilities, adults with disabilities, approached by a local disability service organization. And we did that for a few decades. And then a dozen years ago, I got the appetite to not just do a separate exclusive event, which is great. Let's do more of that. But I'm like, let's bring someone who's interested, if they're interested, into our water ski show. A community member comes to our lakefront park where we perform. Already, water skiing is 104 years old, and I see this guy was more ready than any of the skiers of 104 years. Swim trunks, neoprene shirt, towel, goggles, water socks, the whole schmeal. He was ready to go and perform in the show that we put on for the public. Two of our friends came over and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Well, the end result to their inquiry is he didn't ski that night. He went home dry. And that didn't sit right with me. My family and I the next day worked on the Everybody Skis program, the Inclusion to Water Skiing campaign. It attracted the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation. And together, we all more than sextupled the access, 6 times the access in water skiing in Wisconsin for people with disabilities in 6 years. Takes us right into COVID time. And then at that time, I was forming Global Ability Fest for Henry Meyer Festival Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it's still an opportunity because with COVID, we didn't execute it. And all sorts of things unfolded, like being introduced to Helpipedia and all that. I haven't circled around to do this massive event on that 75-acre property. But that day is still coming because if COVID didn't come, it would have happened in 2020. But now I've got so much else that is built up, so much opportunity to bring the business community in. And it's just really looking back to my years growing up in the 70s and 80s in the school district that I'm still in. My daughter's 16 years old, junior in high school at the same school I went to, my alma mater, and just had homecoming last week. And I think of my time in school versus, with the last 12 years, what I know it ought to have been, but it was what it was. But the idea is to create this future that in all segments of society, again, faith, service, education, civics, business, and fun gets it done. And I used to be in the golf industry. And so 13 years in the golf business, I look back and embarrassed by how little, like through Lions International, we had the BOLD program, athletes blind, visually impaired. We had an amputee out there. We had some, now I look at it as token experiences that I hung my hat on. And to just look at, I learned from masters of ability, being people with disabilities, that 1 in 4 people have a disability. So I'm like, wow, I totally missed the mark. I just was on the appetizer and never got to the main meal. Type of deal. And so I just saw this as something that we needed to go 3,300%, 33 times more of these little sampling experiments or experiences that I've had in my life and just really make it so mainstay. When I go to business meetings now, I say, what have you done today? What are you doing now in this show? And what will you be doing later after this show? With a professional with a disability. I want people to picture another president with a disability in our White House, leaders of countries with disabilities, chair people of boards, chairs of boards, the things that makes this world tick, the movers and the shakers, being movers and shakers, being people with disabilities. We're going to rewrite this, and the film industry is taking off in this area. It's just really a revolution that is percolated and is right in front of us, ready for everybody to participate. Come on in. That's what we're doing, Steve, right?
Yeah.
Love it.
Great stuff, Kurt. I couldn't have mirrored anything like what you said. You're exactly what our families want to hear. Heather and I tell our families all the time that you can move the needle. You got to take that first step. And you certainly took a whole lot of steps out in Wisconsin. I think, kudos to you for doing all of that. And, someday you can look back and say, holy cow, look what we created. And look at the inclusivity we created because of that first step way back. So great job, Kurt.
One of the things that we miss with inclusion is we kind of force it sometimes. I thought you were so vulnerable when you said it was like they were a token. They were like, supposed to say we did it. Like we highlighted them. We used them in a way, right? Like that's really brave to say that out loud because I can think back at moments in my career where I felt like I had done a great thing. Like, look, I highlighted that person. And then you really look at it and you say, well, why weren't they just with everybody else? Like, why did they have to be separated out in that way? So thank you for admitting that. I think for the self-advocates that listen to the show, that means a lot for us to say, man, I thought I was hitting the mark. Like, I thought I was doing it and not quite. So that's an important thing to acknowledge.
Yeah, and another thing to acknowledge is in the disability community, I have been a recipient of love like I've never been offered love in my life. You know, this journey got me to be the vice chair of the Wisconsin Council on Physical Disabilities. And as I performed that work and I was at the table at the council, to me, that's my objective. I want in these government spaces that people are working for our government and delivering love with what they do. And I hope that all of the people of the public, all the citizens, come back and shower love upon everybody in public service. This is, you know, really the fuel that, again, without these experiences, it never would have happened without what I'm talking about. And another thing is so empowering in getting out of your own way and, you know, not letting a situation or circumstance crush what you're doing. It helped me create a mantra called barrier demolition. We're plowing right through. And this helped me when I was working with the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation, because I got with another community member who has a van, an accessible van with the lift and everything in it. He doesn't drive. So I was the driver and I'd have fun. I'd say, you know, Chad, I'm just the monkey behind the wheel, you know, what, you know, but I drove him up and my family too. And his, you know, caregiver, we all went up in his van and we went into the world's largest water ski tournament, which is in central Wisconsin. And this guy has become the first ever in the history of water skiing demonstrator of adaptive water skiing as a diverse ability athlete. And I get there, we've got our sit ski, we got the rope that attaches to it, and we're at a tournament, so I'm not thinking boat or anything. I talked to the organizer, and he's coming back at me like he expects me to have my own boat. And he's like, is that a problem? Now, in my old set of thinking, I would have said, well, yeah, I would have thought you guys would have supplied the boat, you know, but
Yeah.
I just looked at him like, no, not a problem. It's logistics. We just got to know what's going on. All right, now I know how we're running it. Let's roll. So I walked away, and now I got the oh darn moment going on because I don't have a boat. So I'm going to all these teams. There's 26 teams through the weekend, and through the teams that are there, I'm telling them what I'm out to do in the pickle I'm in, and to say, do you have a decision maker in your team that could help me decide if you guys might help us do this demo? And I go up and down, and I'm getting to the end where I'm not getting an answer yet, but somebody tells me about a gentleman who lost his daughter returning home from a ski club practice in years past, and he does legacy lessons in memory of his daughter. So I'm going out to this guy doing this, you know, providing lessons for people at this tournament. And I talk to him and I tell him what I want to do. You know, Steve and Heather and everybody out there, I'll never forget this. He looks at me and he's like, Kurt, if that's what you're coming to me to do, he's like, I'd be so honored to do that. Yes, please. I want to take this gentleman skiing. And none of these people knew how adaptive water skiing works. So right at the tournament, I'm doing a mini, you know, camp, you know, on adaptive water skiing, taking about an hour to make sure everything's completely safe and they're not going to leave Chad in the water and taking water in his lungs and all that. It was the most amazing thing because he came from the left to showcase. He came in sight, and I'm on the microphone announcing, hey, everybody, this is my friend Chad. He's showing adaptive water skiing. Look at this. You guys go over the jump, boat 360. You do barefoot water skiing. You build these ginormous human pyramid walls. And, hey, did you know how to use a sit ski? Well, lucky you. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Chad's here. He's going to teach you everything you need to know to take him skiing with you. Who wants to do it? My phone number is 262-372-1754. Give me a ring. This is my billboard, this ugly face. Take a look. This is how I look this way. Tap me on the shoulder. Sign up, line up. Let's get Chad skiing. I had 5 people at that tournament tell me they wanted to take the Chad of their community or have Chad come to their community and do adaptive water skiing. That was the trajectory. And it all started with people with disabilities taught me to really look at whether you can't do it. When it shows you how you can't, keep at it to say, how can I? They put that voice in me. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, such a beautiful blessing to see the world that way, because if you have a disability and there's a barrier and that makes you stop, you would never get anywhere. Like, you would never get anywhere. They have to evolve their mindset to a place where a barrier is an opportunity to learn something new. Like, I have this one guy who's always like, hello, obstacle. What are you here to teach me? You know, and I just I giggle every time he says it, but he means it, because that is how he's attacking that situation. He's not beating himself up. He's not crying about it. He's like, all right, there's a way around it. I'm going to go under it, over it, through it, right? And I'm going to figure it out. So I agree that resilience is something that a lot of us don't have. You know, we have it easy, right? Things are handed to us in some respects, and they have to fight for it. So why shouldn't we look up to that kind of inner energy and power? That's really cool.
Yeah, Kurt. I love the fact that you're also a dad. A lot of people in this field is a lot of moms doing everything. In the disability community, I run across that all the time. I think it's such a great thing to see that another dad's out there trying to move the needle. Another dad's out there who actually did move the needle, and that just talked about it. You moved it, and I expect great things out of some of the things you're doing out there. And I might just take a road trip out there with the 4 kids in our house with disabilities and see if you'll do a water skiing class for them, because I actually think that, you know, and I never thought of it, including my own son. Never. You opened up my eyes to the possibility of these guys being able to get out there on the lake.
And Steve, my requirement is that you ski too.
I used to. I actually did. I actually used to ski.
Well, there you go.
So
now we're going to get you updated. We're going to get you skiing again. Right. And I want to really bring out my family situation, because my wife does not qualify for disability services. My daughter doesn't. My daughter is not a 16-year-old in special needs education or anything like that. She actually is in Best Buddies, working with a friend of hers, building that friendship with a friend who is benefiting from special education and so forth. And I don't qualify for disability services. So that has become something that's been part of our journey, is we keep getting looked at like, why are you guys why are you guys bothering with all this? Like, kind of like, you don't need to worry about any of this. Like, why? And it's just kind of like, because it's amazing that that's even a question to me. As soon as I was asked, why am I doing it? I'm like, this is why I'm doing it, so that nobody ever asks that question again. If I need to build a planet where nobody asks, why are you, a person who we don't see any disability with you or experience any disability with you, and go to your doctor or whatever, there's no disability to be found in you, supposedly, and if you keep going with it, it's actually that 8 billion people on the planet, we all have a disability. The reason that there is this, separation is because of funding. It's because of, the money is there to compensate for the fact that our faith community is not doing it good enough. Our nonprofits are not doing it good enough. Our education, that's where the special needs chapter with Helpipedia is so crucial, not doing it good enough. Our government is not doing it good enough. They have all these great disability services, but let's go to transportation or park and rec or, all these other parts of government. And how are they doing, providing that role for people with disabilities to grow that part of our government, like the Oval Office and such like this? So lots of room to improve. The business community, I say, has the largest room for improvement of any segment of how our life is built because, we had a mastermind discussion, a breakout room a couple years ago, and this lady from Scotland was in there. And she said the honest truth of people with disabilities are viewed as a liability. And so that's in the business community where we need to rewrite the script, go back to 175 billion people that have ever been on the planet, and just like the, Etch-a-Sketch, shake that thing and start with a new rendition, of how this works, because every person is an asset. We're all equally yoked in building this future of the world. And, you're listening to Kurt Roskopf 2.0. The transformation from Kurt Roskopf 1.0 was 100% made possible by my sponsors being people with disabilities, people who open up their life, open themselves up as an asset like I have never had in my life before. And I'm here to shout from the mountaintops, we're all equal. I cite, sacred scripture. What you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. That's a Messiah taking ownership to say, you think they're the least of these? When you try to do it to that person you're labeling the least of these, think of me. Would you do it to me? Don't do it to them if you're not going to do it to me. And the other thing is there's no such thing as least of these in divinity. Let's take that direction, folks. That's what I ask for.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Kurt, I wanted to say one quick thing about one of the things you asked. When you get asked, when somebody says, why do you do this? Why bother? Interesting you brought that up because a couple of weeks ago, my mom, who's almost 90, she comes up to me, because she heard about the podcast from, me talking about it. And she says, why would you start a podcast at your age? And I tried to explain it to her that the age doesn't mean anything to me, but we can be out there making a difference like you did, Kurt, and more, and bring us all full circle like you did. And if we can get one person, one family out there to move a needle also, that's great. And I also told her, wait till you find out, Mom, I'm bringing you on the podcast.
Right? He's the next guest. Sneak peek into future episodes. No. Love it.
Put that one front and center for me. Right. Sounds really good.
It's just it's a way of looking at the world, and we do evolve, right? It's so often we're just the diagnosis or you see the wheelchair, you don't see the person. And when you just start to see people as people, that's where the magic is. I completely agree with you. And if people are listening and they think, I don't know how to water ski, but I want to do something like this. My guess is there are adaptive support sports in your area. We have like Abilities Movement in Rochester that, Mike Tuller is part of. He's a friend of mine. He does kayaking. Man, water skiing though, that's clutch right there because that's not a safe thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, lots of people think, oh, they have a disability, they think liability, and they do something safe. But you took it up a notch. That's really proving something. You're not babying something, and making it, a weaker version. You're doing it. So thank you. I want everybody to kind of reflect on that. What can they do in their hometown? Think about it, guys. What do you have passion for? Bring it to everybody because everybody will circle back to where we started to close the show. Isolation is one of the biggest things out there. And when we look at it, 8 out of 10 people feel extremely isolated at least half of the time. And that's everybody. We just need to get to know our neighbors. Knock on the door, wave to them when you're going to get the mail, say hello. Like these are little things, but they're big things. And if I'm somebody in the aging population or somebody in the disability community, and you take the time to say hi to me, that means something. But it means something to me too. Do you know, like we all like to be acknowledged and feel like we're part of something, that we belong somewhere. And people notice when we're there and when they notice when we're not. So, Kurt, thank you so much for being that person that looks for their fellow human and walks alongside of them. You're not, you're not saying you're doing something for them. You guys are doing it together. That's beautiful.
That's right. They gave me a role. They told me the role I'm fulfilling is being a disability ally. I'm like, there you go. Sign me up. So that's
perfect.
Disability ally. Let's go.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation. If people are wondering how they can learn more about you and your initiatives, how can they find you?
Well, you can go ahead and Google my name, Kurt Roskopf. I got a lot of material out there in digital space. Folks can feel free to call my Google Voice line, which is 262-372-1754. Don't be bashful. Feel free to send a text. You can send an email or as many emails as you like. Kurt, K-U-R-T, at spiritofthegame.org. And don't miss the opportunity to catch that wonderful homepage for Helpipedia. Helpipedia.org. That's HELPIPEDIA.org. Kind of like Wikipedia, but it's Helpipedia. Helpipedia.org.
Kurt, thanks for coming on. And look, I hope that you continue to do great things. I look forward to working with you on some of these other projects that I'm involved in now. And I can't state enough that we need more Kurts out there, and hopefully some whoever's listening here will take the next step. Till next time.
Continue the conversation by joining our Facebook group. If you're a fan of the show, please join our supporters club. Subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your favorite listening app, but most of all, share it with your friends. Just one more click or comment can make a huge difference and help us to continue finding common ground.